are working in one of our imaging departments, chances are pretty good that at some point you will be asked to place an outside exam online. There are a number of different ways in which we can receive a study, such as the thumb drive, a disk, email, and even Dropbox. But in this video we're going to be focusing on how to import an exam that has been received by our receiving catapult down in the KRMC file room, which is Catapult Station 682. Once you have received word that you need to place an exam online, the first thing you need to do is to verify that we've actually received the study. There are two different ways in which you can do that. The easiest way is probably to just log into Universal Manager at any catapult or viewing station and go to the In Progress tab. And if you can find your patient exam on the In Progress tab, then you know that it's been received and is sitting on our gateway down in the file room. The other way is to actually walk down to the file room, get in front of that gateway, and check and see if you can see the exam listed on the gateway log. If you are having trouble receiving a study, there are three things you can do to troubleshoot the situation. First, you can verify that the DICOM gateway on station 682 is actually up and running. If the gateway software isn't up and running, it can't receive the study. So if you're at an outreach site, you may have to call our file room or even the evening techs down in X-ray at KRMC to go down and have them go check the station to make sure that the gateway is up. If the gateway is up, it's never a bad idea to just reboot the gateway software, and to do this gracefully you would just go to File and then Exit, and then you would just click on the Exit button here, but we don't want to exit. So if you've checked that the gateway is open, if you've rebooted the gateway and it's still not working, the only other thing you can do before calling the PACS team would be to reboot the PC completely. So after you have verified that we have actually received the study, there are two different methods by which we can import the exam into the online status. The first way, which I'm going to refer to as the gateway import method, is probably the easiest and most straightforward, but it has a disadvantage in that you have to actually be in front of the receiving gateway to do it. You cannot do this remotely from Health Center or Eureka Prompt Care. It's not going to work. You have to be in front of the PC for this to work because it's done through the gateway. The other method I like to call the universal import method because it can be done from any catapult station. It has the advantage of flexibility in that you can do it from anywhere, but it's just a little bit more time consuming and complicated. At any rate, we're not going to be covering the second method in this little video. We'll cover that in a future video. In this video we're going to talk about the gateway import method. So to start with, what you're going to want to do is bring up the gateway and highlight the exam in question, and then click on the import button. This will bring up the manual import screen. At this point the system automatically starts going through the exam information and looks for any unrecognized value. For each unrecognized value you will receive kind of a pop-up box like the one you see here, asking you if you want to add this record to our system or if you want to edit the record to match a value that's already in our system. If the medical record number is not already in our system, you will receive this new patient demographic information dialog box. At this point you have two options. If you were to click the Add New Record button, this patient's information would be added to our system, but that would result in an outside facility's patient ID being added to our system, which is not something we really want. So if you were in a huge hurry and it was a critical, time was of the essence situation, you could go ahead and click the Add New Record. It would just simply add that patient's information to our system. But the better way and the preferred way is to go ahead and click the Edit Medical Record Number. At this point it will bring up the Select Patient dialog box, and you simply search for the patient, last name, comma, space, first name, and look to see if there is a matching patient already in our system. In this example, you can see that we have 3 results with that name, one with a K number, one with an NV number, and one with a CB number. And if we scroll over a little bit, you can see that they all have the same birth date. If we go over and check the information on the study that we received, though, the birth date's 10/20/68, not 5/29/68. So this is actually a different patient, and we are going to need to create the patient in our system. So to do that, what we do is we come down here and we click the Add button. This will open the Create Patient Record dialog box, and there are 5 required fields within this dialog that you must fill out in order to proceed. You will first need to assign the patient an A number. An A number is simply a 10-digit alphanumeric patient ID consisting of an A followed by 1 or 2 zeros depending on the birth date, and then the patient's birth date. So this patient's A number would be A, and then if we look at the birth date, there are already 8 digits in the patient's birth date. If we add that to the A we already have, that makes 9. We just need 1 0. So A 0 10 20 19 68, and that should give us 10 digits. The next required field you'll need to add is the last name. So this patient's last name is Doe. First name, and then birth date, which is 10/20/1968. Sex, and that should be it. Those are the 5 fields: the patient ID, last name, first name, birth date, and sex. At that point we can click OK, and then search for that patient's name again. Now you can see we've added that record to the system. One thing I'd like to mention is that if any of these 3 exams up top here had been a perfect match, the name matched and the birth date matched, we could have used any one of those. However, it's probably a good idea to use the one that matches your facility if possible. So in this case, I would have chose the K number because I'm at KRMC, and that way my doctors would have less of a problem finding this exam once I put it online. If I had been in Cut Bank, I probably would have used a CB. But you can use any existing record you can find as long as the birth date matches. Otherwise, you have to create this A number. So we created the A number because the birth date didn't match, so we're going to select the A number and then click OK. Next, the system went through and identified that the physician, the referring physician, was not in our system. And so we can either, once again, add this new record to our system, which we don't want to do unless we're in a really big hurry, or we can edit the referring physician. So we're going to choose Edit the Referring Physician, and then type in outside provider and select it from the list. Then you can hit OK. And lastly, if the system does not recognize the exam type, you'll get this dialog box, and we want to click Edit Exam Type. And then up in the filter area, we want to change the filter to FOR, which stands for foreign. And then search for the exam based off of the modality first. So if it was an MR, I would type in MR and then maybe head. If it was an X-ray, we would type in CR and then maybe wrist. If it were a CT, which it actually is, you would type in CT space head. And then we're going to select CT head foreign from the list, and then OK. At this point, you'll notice that it updated the patient ID to the one we created. It updated the referring physician to the one we selected. Modality and exam type were all updated to values that already exist in our system, and that is the correct way to do it. Lastly, if you wanted to type any additional notes, you would do that in this box here, the Enter Additional Notes to Radiologist field. And anything you type in here is going to show up as a technologist note, just like you would type in your patient history. That's where this is going to show up once we import this into PAX. It's never a bad idea to say where we imported it from, who we imported it for, and who we are. So for this exam, I would probably put something like exam imported from St. Luke's for Dr. Bishop by Calvin Spooler. And at this point, we are good to go. We can simply come up here and click OK. As you can see, the exam disappeared from the list on the gateway, and now we're going to go over to Universal Manager, go to the Schedule tab, and you'll see that the exam has been DICOM'd as noted by the I status and is ready to be viewed. So go ahead and click the exam, click View, and we don't really require any post-processing on a foreign study that was imported. However, if you are a tech that understands how to format the study into a manner that is more consistent with our protocols, it's never a bad idea, but you don't have to. So if you're a CT tech, you can go ahead and crop this thing and post-process it like you normally would, but like I say, that's not required. Once you're happy with the study, go ahead and click Done and Yes. And right here, if you gave the exam an A number, you do not want to mark this pending archive box, because we don't want to archive A numbers. We want to wait to archive the exam until we've given it a K number, which, like I said, happens about once every quarter. So since we gave this an A number, I'm not going to click this box. If we had found the patient in our system, we could go ahead and click this box so that this exam would go to archive. You want to make sure that you click Red, because this is not a study our radiologists are going to read, and then click Yes. And the final thing you need to do here is change the acquisition site from KRMC or CutBank or wherever you're at to FRN. And one thing that can be a little bit confusing, you'll notice right above FRN there's FOR, and they both say foreign exams. This was our legacy designation for foreign exams and has since been retired, so we don't want to use that. It's kind of confusing. The modality is FOR, but the acquisition site is FRN, so they're different. So I'm going to select that, and at this point everything looks pretty good. You don't need to put any exam indications in or type any further notes. We can see the note we entered is right here, and we can go ahead and click OK. Then we can go online, check to make sure that our exam is there, and that is it. We have now successfully imported this exam via the gateway import method. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and get a hold of me or give us a call on the PAX line, 406-751-4299.